Hello! Happy holidays! This is Broken City Podcast number 4. Got Adam Watts right here.
What's that?
And my name's Gannon. And Mike Jackson is, what is he doing today?
He's out down south somewhere. I don't know what he's doing.
Hopefully he comes back in one piece.
He's in the mountains east of San Diego.
Okay.
Doing something.
So his kidneys are safe?
His kidneys are safe. It's got to be something important. He only does important things.
Indeed. Well, to get started, I had one thought in my head. We were talking about songwriting in the car today, and I was thinking, what if you went into a session and it was just two people, it's just me and you.
Okay.
You're the chord guy and I'm the melody guy, right?
All right.
And all of a sudden you play these chords, right? Play the magic chords.
Okay, we've kind of set this up.
Yeah.
So the chords are, I don't know. I made these up myself.
Yeah, these are just your own chords. Oh. I can write to that. Don't stop believing. Okay, so
copyright.
For the sake of argument, if I'm the top liner and I'm making melodies and stuff like that, and you come in with that chord progression, which is obviously a chord progression that's been written before.
And that's all I do all day.
That's all you did all day. Do
Yeah.
you still, I mean, obviously you'll get songwriting credit, but the question is...
Because I'm in the room.
Is that songwriting?
If all I'm doing is that.
Yeah, you came in with this chord progression, and you know it's happened a million times. A guy will come in, I mean, to be fair, most people have tracks, and so they'll have tracks designed around that chord progression, but there are sessions that are based around a piano and a vocal.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Adele's one good example. What song was that? The one that she did with Dan Wilson?
Someone Like You.
Now that's
Yeah.
a little different because he had an arpeggio. I mean, he changed it up. But
Yeah.
the question, it's interesting because I just wonder, like, I know that's songwriting, but there's something about it that doesn't feel like songwriting because the chord progression already exists.
Well, you could say, okay, here's the argument.
Yeah.
If I was to argue for myself, the chord guy.
Ignore this. My phone's ringing. Don't worry about it. Okay, go ahead.
That I would say, like, well, choosing that chord progression on that day at that tempo inspires you to do something like, just the sort of like that's the reality of the moment type thing. But obviously, there are only so many chord progressions that kind of work.
Right.
A lot of them have been used over and over, and I think that's why. So I would say,
It's
valid. It's valid, but I think that's why. Like legally, what a copyright is the melody and the lyrics. You can't copyright a chord progression.
Right. Because I mean, the blues is the same thing. If you're the chord guy and you write a blues progression, and it inspires the vocalist to write their thing. I mean, it's all music, so it all makes sense.
It's all music, yeah.
But it does have an element of humor to it, to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're, especially if you're in a fairly narrow genre like pop, where the chords really. There's not as much maybe chord variation as there might be in classical or jazz.
Right.
So I think that's why the laws are like that. There's like less variation in that particular part, but there's tons of variation in like stylistic choices and like production choices, and although production isn't part of the copyright, but
that does change the way.
That's why they have to simplify it to like melody, unique lyric put together. But I think, dude, like the last few years, there have been like lawsuit after lawsuit.
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
I almost feel like we're running out of
ideas.
Kind of.
Or melodies. What was the thing you said Stuart Copeland said?
Yeah, that all the good melodies have been taken or something like that. Yeah. But I think it's kind of it's a math problem because, pop music, rock and roll, whatever, what's it been around 60, 70 years tops?
Right.
So when you consider how narrow of a genre it is with like, okay, you have chords, you have, bass, drums, guitar, another guitar maybe, keyboards, vocals, that's kind of like, rice, beans, tortillas, chicken, pork, sauce, and lettuce.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like a Mexican meal of like, in terms of its basic ingredients.
Yeah.
So how many ways can you like rearrange that stuff and get something new every time?
Right.
Obviously there's all kinds of other kind of layers to pop music, but if you really did the math, 8 notes in the scale, 8 different scales, or not 8 different scales, but 12 different scales, you start to run out of like new ideas. You have to start thinking of new like vibes and new sonic characteristics and all this stuff. But you think about the millions and millions of songs that have been written over 70 years.
It's insane.
Eventually, people are going to start copying each other, repeating it. Like, I think that's why things go in stages. Like, you get after about 15, 20 years, you can bring back the style of 15, 20 years ago.
Right. Like right now, 90s house music is back, of all things.
Yeah.
We just did a thing for with these guys from London, My Digital Enemy, and the music was completely like 90s house.
Yeah.
Which was it was cool. It was like, okay, I know that style, you know, and usually with that kind of music, you have the soulful singer on top. Yep. It's a good blend between the two styles, you know. I think like the one cool thing about like EDM music too is that I feel like that's the one genre where they're trying to mix up the chords.
Right now, yeah.
It seems like that's like one area where the chords are getting more sophisticated. Like the melodies are still like, I feel like melodies are still kind of based in R&B, blues, and not blues, but they're definitely R&B pop. But the chords are tending to get a little bit more sophisticated to some degree. Not like Steely Dan or anything, but they're not just your straight, you know.
Yeah, I think people
per bar chord, you know, like one.
You know, producers and writers that are trying to like break new ground.
Yeah.
It's definitely we hear.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's in that key or if it's.
And there's so many songs written with that chord progression.
It just feels good, man.
It does.
It says
like automatic, awesome chord
triumphant.
progression.
Yeah, if we were prepared enough, we could probably sing 50 songs in a row. And I could
Well, Jesse's Girl has that chord progression in the verse. Let It Be is that chord progression, isn't it? Or maybe it's not. Yeah, so Let It Be is. I mean, there's like a million songs that have that. And we said the Adele song.
So, oh yeah,
it's super. I mean, the cool thing is if you're a new songwriter, that's like, it's actually a good place to start. If you're like looking for a way to like get going, start with that chord progression because that's
plagiarize.
Well, you know.
No, but yeah, start.
It's a bed, you know, and then you have your own. You can come up with your own melodies.
Totally. I mean, that's where, you know, if you're going to build a house, pour a foundation. Most foundations look kind of the same. That could be considered a foundation, and then
stucco.
Yeah,
that's stucco.
That's stucco. But you know,
how you dress it up is
make them all, you know, switch what they are.
Oh, I need a pan flute for that one.
You do. Give it to me.
Takes me outside the mode.
Lesson number 1: don't do that.
Yeah.
So,
or do.
But that's you know that's a viable place to start.
Yeah.
I mean, With or Without You Too. It's another classic.
Yep.
It's like see the storms, you know. But
it's a good place to start though, for sure, for writing songs. You know, I know we've written some without that chord progression.
Yeah, more than some.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, the thing is, when I brought it up, I just think it's funny because if that's all you did, and you got royalties for that, you know, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You got a free pass that day. You know,
that's true. If he gets invited back and he brings the same thing,
and you know some guy's done that. He goes into a session, I got this chord progression. It's gonna be brilliant, and then everybody feels it because they love that chord progression.
Yeah.
So the person that has the hard work ahead of them is the singer and the lyricist.
Yeah, they're doing the heavy lifting on that day.
Heavy lifting that day.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was gonna say on a different note. I can never remember this guy's name, man, but we were watching him today. Conor McGregor.
Yep, UFC fighter. He just won the featherweight title, and incredible fight. I mean, he fought this guy Jose Aldo, a Brazilian who has been champion for I believe 4 years and undefeated for a decade.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, just an amazing athlete, and just, you know, whether he just wins on points and fights smart, or he just pummels people, the guy doesn't lose. I think he's lost one fight like really early in his career. But the thing about him is he fights very, you know, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he fights very Muay Thai, which is like classic, you know, Thai-based boxing, kicking. Right. It's all about leg kicks and knees. And
which can be brutal if you get kicked in the leg with that stuff.
Totally brutal. And he's extremely athletic and fast. And you and I always talk. I've been talking a lot about, and I've been writing a lot about like a holistic approach to the arts, and martial arts is an art, you know. So there's a guy that came up from Ireland and has just like shot into the public consciousness, and has been amazing. Beating everybody. Yeah. And he's super charismatic, but he's actually a great fighter. And his approach to martial arts is probably the most holistic of any guy out there. I mean, probably somebody like John Jones is.
I was going to say that guy's like a close, they're kind of in the same zone.
He's close, yeah. Except he's, you know, on a
except he's doing cocaine.
Yeah,
he's a little snoot for that fight. Man, John Jones is incredible. He's fast.
Yeah,
but Conor does not.
Hopefully, he's off that path now. So far, so good.
Yeah,
but yeah, so Conor has really gotten into movement. So he's studying like he's noticed that a lot of fighters move in very kind of ways that you can predict, and he's decided to, you know, he has a movement coach, and he's always been obsessed with movement. And his approach is about, you know, those who move well, they're not just controlling their body, they're really in control of their mind.
Right.
And he's very much about mental warfare.
Right.
Leading up to fight, a lot like Muhammad Ali.
Right. Yeah, they kind of beat you mentally before they beat you physically.
Yeah.
Some way, which is cool. But that was amazing when you, the fight, how long did you say it was? 13 seconds?
13 seconds.
And it looked so funny because we were just kind of like going like this, and then that guy came in. I guess he hit him with the left hook. I couldn't really tell what punch it was, left hook, I think. But the cool thing is the thing you showed me earlier after the fight, you showed me this clip of him predicting how he's going to win and how he visualized it.
Yeah, at the press conference afterwards, he was he's talking about, somebody asked him, like, hey, you know, do you know what you said to me a week ago?
Yeah.
One of the guys at the press conference. And Conor remembered and told him what he was going to do, and the guy quoted him and basically said that Conor had faced off with him, as they do before these fights. If you're not familiar with the UFC, as they're promoting the fight, they do like multiple face-offs. You know, where they just get in their face and just like, and they're staring each other down and
promoting, get everybody fired up.
Yep. And there's something about that moment, man, where you know you're going to fight that person, and you're most likely going to get hurt, and there's a 50-50 chance, you know, technically speaking, that you could lose.
Yeah.
So it's an intense moment for these guys. And Conor said he could see his right hand, Jose Aldo's right hand twitching.
Yeah.
And that he had gotten into his head, and he was kind of mentally,
he's
not the Jose Aldo. Yeah. And he said, I think he's going to load up on that right hand and be over emotional and whatever.
Yeah.
And he had it planned out that he was going to slip the punch and counter with his left.
Right.
And this reporter said that you told me exactly what you were going to do, and that's exactly what happened, and it happened in 13 seconds.
That's amazing.
And he knocked out Jose Aldo. He's like, I don't think he's ever been knocked out before. And it was just like, it was so amazing to see, you know, what was crazy for me in watching Conor McGregor say that was like, he's done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Like he's called his shot, and he's been right a lot. You know, I would say most of the time. He'll say like, I'm going to beat this guy in the first round or the second round, and then he goes and he does it, and he says how he's going to do it.
Right.
And they'll go and just show a voiceover of him doing that, and something he had said before the fight. So he calls it like his fight IQ, that he sees something in his head, and it's very technical based, and it's like he knows what he can do, and he's seeing these pattern recognition in these fighters, and he knows how to counter them.
Yeah.
And it was...
So he sees the holes in their game, basically.
He sees the holes in their game, and he can kind of predict. You know, he can prepare mentally and physically for what is likely to happen. And he said, if you can believe it, if you see it and you believe it and you speak it, this is what he said at the press conference.
Yeah.
Then it will happen. Right. It becomes reality, and that sounds like mumbo jumbo and like universe talk, like, you know, The Secret or something, like he even mentioned the law of attraction. Yeah. But really, like, that inspired me that day to think about like what is vision. You know, like that's what he's got. He's got vision. Right. Vision isn't crystal ball, and vision isn't like seeing into the future. Right. But vision is like an intelligence about what you're doing, confidence that you see what you see, and then, you know, in his case, he says speaking it is important, but taking action, you know, like if you're seeing something in the world and you're not crazy, it's not crazy to have the confidence to kind of follow that gut instinct. It's really it's instinct mixed with technique and cognitive kind of awareness.
But I think the confidence thing is really what helps too, like knowing that you're going to achieve your goal no matter what, and seeing it in front of you. I mean, I remember reading interviews with Steve Vai talking about that, how he would dream about himself being on stage. He would picture himself doing all the things that he's doing now.
Wow.
Like he saw it, all, you know, he saw everything about it. And then he would try to make that happen in real life. So I think there's definitely something to it. I mean, guys that, Muhammad Ali had a very similar kind of strategy where he would kind of manifest that he was going to win and he was the greatest and all that stuff that he would put out there. And then with all that confidence, he was able to kind of achieve that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, it's like a common thread amongst really amazing athletes and musicians or whatever, artists in general.
Visualization. And I think it seems like in what I've seen it in, and maybe my own experience with it to some degree, is like the guys that do that and are the best, and they seem to have no dips in that confidence.
Right.
Like we all have confidence, and then that confidence completely.
So they get shattered along the way.
Yeah, it goes totally away, and it comes back, and I think there's something to be said for like like practicing the consistency of that visualization, because there's not, whenever you drop that vision or whatever, it's filled in with doubt and then second guessing and like there's all that stuff going on. So
yeah, you get attacked in some sort of way, like something there's a roadblock along that way. And all those guys probably felt that too. Before they got to that place, they probably had their moments of doubt and stuff, but they probably were just thinking their way out of it, or figuring their way out of it and not really vocalizing it.
Yeah, trying to find a way to like head it off before it
before it
one
takes
thought
over.
Becomes another.
Yeah. But I love that line of thinking. I mean, it kind of inspired me like it did you, where it's like I want next year to be sort of like whatever roadblocks I have in my brain about whatever we're trying to achieve or whatever I'm trying to achieve. It's like I want that to be removed by doubt. Doubt's the worst thing.
Right.
If once you have doubt in the equation, then everything else sort of gets crazy.
Yeah.
But if you can just get past the doubt and just say, okay, this is what I'm doing. No matter what comes my way, I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, man. It's very it's a poignant topic because I was watching. It's gonna sound like a big left turn, but it's really not. Like there's this guy named Royal Rife.
I like that name.
It's a pretty good name, Royal.
Yeah.
So he invented what I think it's called the Rife machine in the 1920s.
Sounds like I've heard that name for some reason.
Yeah, you probably have.
Seen it or
It's
something.
in holistic medicine.
Yeah.
So basically, what he did, he's like an extreme genius, like in mechanics and biology, and like he was an inventor, and he invented a microscope that was insanely powerful for the time. Like nowadays you can go buy your microscope online or something and spend a good deal of money and get maybe like 5,000 times more magnification, or 10,000, maybe 15, but you're spending serious thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And back then the magnification was like a couple hundred times or something. Mm-hmm. He built this wacky machine that was just like, it's probably like this big by this big, but it was all these different lenses and different angles, and the thing could magnify it 50 times. 50,000 times, sorry.
And for that time period, that was insane.
It's insane for now.
Yeah.
Because he could see...
Well, I knew that.
You knew that. Of course.
Of course. What was I was just kidding.
Your machine goes 1,000, million times. So, the thing about it is that he could see living bacteria, living viruses, things that now it's difficult to keep them alive and look at them, like with electron microscopes and stuff. So, he... this Rife machine that he invented was a product of him realizing that when looking through this microscope that he made, if he shines different colors of light through what he was looking at on a black background, that it would light up these bacteria or molecules, organisms that were that same color, and he could see them incredibly clearly. Like, I think a lot of the problem is you look down at that depth, 50,000, and everything's clear and you can't see it, so scientists have to use different colored dyes in order to see things. So he was able to use light in order to see what he wanted to see.
Yeah.
So when he thought about light, he's like, oh, frequencies of light. What about frequencies of sound? So he started dealing with different frequencies of sound and how it affected different cells. So he realized, he made this machine that had, I think, like 2,000 different frequencies that he could tune in, and he would find the vibrating frequency of a virus, and when he matched the virus frequency, the thing would explode.
Oh, wow.
So he could not kill the surrounding tissue and just kill viruses with a frequency.
Well, that's pretty insane.
It's insane.
That's incredible.
And what happened with that was people tried, the pharmaceutical industry tried.
Didn't like that one.
Nope. Apparently, the story goes, is that he was curing cancer in the 1920s with this machine.
Wow.
Like there, he had some studies and like, you know, a series of this many people with cancer, and he used the machine on them. And I think 80% of them, or around there, their cancer was cured during the period. It was a couple weeks.
Wow.
And then actually they stayed on the machine, and within a few more weeks, the other 20%. So 100% cancer cure.
Whoa.
With this machine.
Can you imagine?
Insane, man. So like there's holistic doctors out there that have these machines. You can Google it online, Rife machine, and they're out there, but there's a lot of quackery. You know, there's a lot of machines like, it makes frequencies.
Yeah.
And then you get the, you know.
That's pretty cool,
people
though.
think they're getting better, but they're not. But
right.
It's an amazing thing to like. Where did I start that conversation?
Well, I thought it was going to be about the adversity of Rife having to go through something that made him.
No, I think it was just about like
invention and sort of like thinking outside the box, kind of thinking.
Yeah, vision.
Yeah, visionary thinking.
Yeah, visionary thinking. You know, and like seeing what you see and going after it, and doing, you know, what you're meant to do in life, because, you know, that's kind of what Connor was talking about. It's like he wasn't like looking at, you know, what other fighters did or whatever. He was kind of following an instinctual.
Yeah, even his like
path.
preparation, like the way he trains is different. Like where he does all that weird like movement and stands on one hand, and
you know what's weird about that is he fell into it from. He hurt his knee really bad and he couldn't train, so he decided like he couldn't do heavy training, so he decided that he was gonna just work on movement, real low impact, no sparring and stuff.
That's how it started.
Yeah, and he realized that like, whoa, everybody in the sport is just sparring and moving like, you know, in these very distinct styles.
Yeah.
For the most part, there are a few guys that are different.
Oh.
Don't
worry about that, folks.
So there are a few guys that are different, but for the most part, you know, like Dominic Cruz and John Jones, these guys move in unusual ways, but that's like the future of the sport.
Right.
The innovation is to think outside pre-existing styles and just trying to blend them all together. And
it probably helps your body too. There's probably a lot of wear and tear in your body in those sparring sessions too.
It's funny you say that, because what he was talking about is like the week before the fight, a lot of guys were hitting pads really hard and like getting ready, and he's like, all I did was movement, just very snaky, you know, interesting movement. And he's like, I woke up on the day of the fight and my brain wasn't going to my elbow.
Yeah, he
my
felt
elbow
good.
hurts. Like,
those guys, don't a lot of fighters have like a lot of pain before they actually fight?
A lot of guys go in.
They go in there hurt. Which is crazy, man.
But the big thing about this too, I think, is like there are these disciplines that grow to be, you know, famous. There's like boxing, and there's karate, and there's jiu-jitsu, and each of these things are worlds that guys have perfected the certain group of techniques and approaches and stuff. And mixed martial arts is kind of bringing them together. But the space between all those things is kind of like, you know, the space between, you know, writing lyrics, writing chords, and writing melodies. As songwriters, we're supposed to bring all those things together. Yeah. And those might as well be, you know, jiu-jitsu, karate, and boxing. Sure. But how do you, the space in between those different worlds is like almost infinite. There's like, and that's something that Conor McGregor's movement coach, Ido Portal is his name, I think. He has this holistic approach to movement, and it really, you know, kind of mirrors what I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is just how do you blur all those lines and really take in the entire human being and think about ways to let the music inform the lyrics, and let the lyrics inform the music, and let the the lyrics and the music inform the track, and really look at it from these different angles of like psychology and spirituality, and don't let your technique get in the way of what you're doing. Let it be a service to what you're doing. I just love that approach, man. And we're seeing
it's
like,
fascinating for sure.
Yeah, it applies to sports and it applies to art.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
You could actually apply if you were working as an accountant, probably. Maybe not.
A little more finite.
I've got these numbers here, man. We have questions, huh?
We do have questions.
That's pretty amazing in itself. We actually have questions. Okay, so what are these questions? I'm excited to see.
Yeah, we're early on in the podcast journey, so we have a handful of listeners.
So my dad, he wrote most of these, right?
Yeah, Cannon.
Love you, Dad. I can't wait to hear the first one.
When are you gonna get it together and come visit?
When am I gonna get my $50 back?
Yeah.
What do we got? What do we got?
All right. What do we got? How much time we got here?
Run low, because we're using these high-tech cameras, so they're on limited time.
That's true. Okay, so we're gonna pause right now, and you're gonna see it's not gonna be a long pause for you, but for us it will be. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna answer questions.
Okay, so what's the first question?
So the first question is from Keith Moore via.
Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith. What's up, man? This was on Facebook.
Okay.
And he actually, great question. What makes a good song a good song?
Well, that's complicated.
It is. You go first, then I'll go.
Wow. What makes a good song a good song? Well, there's a lot of different variables, you know. It's like, it has to move you in some way, you know. And it's really hard because it depends on the listener. Some people are really driven by melody. Some people are really driven by words. And some people are driven by the whole song, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like for me, if I hear a song, I mean, words to me tend to be the secondary thing because I'm really like, I love melody and I love chords. So for me, if I hear something that moves me in a way melodically and then the chords, and if it happens to have a great message, and it's like, awesome.
Right.
But sometimes it could just be, if it's just that and the lyrics are good, I can actually live with that.
Yeah.
You know, but it has to have some sort of emotional impact. It has to give you the goosebumps on some level. If it's on one of those criteria, you know, it's like, or the whole thing is preferred, you know, where you can hit all those things, you know.
And if you love music, songwriting is weird because lyrics and the idea of words coming together, it's kind of a different part of the brain that thinks about,
right,
you know, words, and it's a different thing, like where music reaches you is in this kind of more primal place. I think it's more kind of in the primal parts of the brain, and so it's interesting to me because I know you're very deep into music. You've done you've studied jazz really deeply.
Mm-hmm.
So music is kind of a big number one.
Sure.
And it also just depends on the person, you know, like for other personal, like non-musical reasons, I think, why you listen to music. Yeah, so what would you say makes a good song? Like,
it has to give you that feeling. Like when you hear it, it has to give you that. You know, it has to make you feel elated or depressed. Whatever the song is trying to convey, it has to make the listener feel that. And if it does, then you're successful. Mm-hmm. You know, like if the song is sad and you're trying to portray this really sad melody in this story, then it really has to hit you deeply in that way. If it's really cool dance track and it's got this vibe, on all levels, it just has to be great. Yeah. And you always know when you hear the ones that aren't great. It's like there's something missing. You'll hear it and you'll go, it's cool, but it's not great. When you hear a great one, even if you don't even like that style of music, you'll respond to it. You say, that's damn good.
I think there was like a senator or something that was talking about pornography, and he said like he was like, they're trying to define it, and he's like, all I know is I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to like
pinpoint what it is.
Where's that line where it's like
what is considered pornographic?
Yeah. So I mean, a good song, you know it when you hear it.
Yeah.
But it's super subjective.
It is. There's no like right or wrong way to look at it, and everybody has different tastes.
Yeah, when I think about that question, I kind of go to, okay, I instantly know what I know it when I hear it kind of thing for myself, but I also know intrinsically how there's a big part of that that's subjective, and then there are things that are objective. But for me, I think like, okay, what's the definition of a song and what's the definition of good?
Right.
because really that's what it comes down to. Like, not to get too like scientific with just answering a question, but you know, a song is an interesting thing. It's like a paradigm that we have that's probably started in folk music and years ago. So, you know, song tends to be a verse and a chorus, and you know, like there's a hymn, a song.
There's a structure.
There's some kind of structure that you have to like adhere to, and the less you adhere to it, maybe the less good it seems to be.
Right.
And the more you adhere to it, the more, okay, that's a song. And then you become, okay, so what's good in the context of the structure of the song? Where you have, you know, a verse, you have lyrics, you have melody. I mean, obviously, you don't need lyrics or vocals to have a song. No. They're instrumental songs.
Yeah. And there's instrumental songs that are an hour long.
Yes, there are. I've never heard one.
Well, classical pieces can run on to about half an hour, possibly an hour, most likely a half an hour.
Yeah?
They can go for a long time.
And then I don't think anybody calls those songs, so it's kind of like...
well, the compositions.
Yeah, so I think there's a length to a song.
3 minutes probably is the...
I think you hit on something really good, though, because I think a good song is a song that I think has to... There seems to be some sort of, like, quality level that you have to get to in order to, like, recognize it as a song.
Right.
You know, because like, blah, 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 you know, is that a song? Or do I have to start playing chords? Or there's an abstractness that you need to sort of maybe rise above and go, okay, this is a song.
Yeah.
But I think the intent of the songwriter is really important. Like you said, like, is the aim of the person writing this song to express this certain feeling? And does that actually come out of the song and then create that feeling in me?
Yeah.
That's the most basic way to say, like, that's a good song.
Right.
Because I think...
Because you feel something from it.
You feel something from it. There's this, something that I've been writing about a little bit, but it's called, in psychology, it's called, like, transference and countertransference, which is, like, what happens between, you know, a therapist in counseling and their client, and the way, you know, subconscious... very subtle, not necessarily subconscious, but feelings kind of move back and forth between people. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, if you're mad, this has something to do with transference, but if you're mad, I pick up on that, and I have some sort of reaction.
Right.
And then I start acting a certain way, and then you pick up on the way I'm acting, and it either makes you more mad or less mad, or... Right. It's this thing, it's just this tennis match.
Sure, yeah.
So I think, you know, as human beings, we can affect each other in that way. It's almost like you catch the disease of emotion. You either catch that same emotion and you start feeling it with them, or you start to feel this sort of reactionary emotion. Mm-hmm. Like, you get mad, I get scared. Or you get mad, I get mad. Right. And what does my mad do to your mad? Right. What if I get more mad than you? Does that make you scared? Yeah. Or, like, do you calm down? So I think the same thing happens in the arts, which is sort of a weird thing to think about. But if I... you know, feel a certain way, and I emote into the music in that feeling, there's a transference happening from my artistic and emotional and psychological self that I'm trying to get transmitted into this composition, like in the performance, in the writing, like every part of it, which is why, like, I've always loved making my own music from start to finish, and I always felt like, you know, handing it off to somebody else felt very unnatural to me, because I felt like that transference process, wasn't calling it that back in the day, but that idea that I'm transferring emotion, and I'm picking these chords and going, yeah, that's the emotion, like,
right, hey, those chords again.
Hey man, if that's what you're feeling,
yeah.
In a way, coming back to that chord progression, I think a lot of people feel what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it resonates. Yeah. So, like, there's something about this. There's something about that that's sad. There's something about that that's happy.
Yeah, it has all the emotions wrapped up in one chord progression.
It kind of does.
Yeah, and it's got gospel in it, too.
It does.
Which is weird. It's like the weirdest chord progression that has so many different moods in it.
And it takes you there fast, you know, which is pop music has to get places fast. And, but So if you can get that into the chords and you can get that into the melody and all these different layers, and then you can get it into the performances and the sound of the track and all that stuff, you're successful in transferring your emotion to this thing.
Yeah.
And now your emotion is like, it's almost like trying to catch something in a jar, you know, like
right.
You now have that in a jar and you can send it off on the internet. And when somebody else hears it, if you've put it in there, the people that want to feel that, or the people that are feeling that, are attracted to it.
Right.
And then you have that transference. It's like you're in the room with them, but you're not. It's
yeah.
Like
they feel it.
Yeah, you've encapsulated yourself in this other thing that's not you, and then it can go and affect somebody. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, that's what makes music amazing.
It's magical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any kind of art. I mean, any kind of art that can be documented and recorded in that way, it can sort of be sent off like a vitamin.
Yeah.
I don't know the word.
It can heal, or it can make somebody upset, or it can do all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Make people happy. So what's our next question?
Yes, I guess it's subjective, but a good song is a song that's authentic.
Yeah, it moves you.
True.
It has to
moves
move you.
And also has some level of, like, you can get it as a song.
Right. Has to be great.
It becomes harder to get and experience a song as good if you have to wade through a bunch of crap. I think a great song sung really poorly is harder to hear as great because there are things in the way.
Yeah.
Performances in
the
way.
Crummy recording can make it fuzzy, and
yeah.
It's true. I mean, in this day and age, everything has to be great. And you have the technology to do it.
Yep.
You can buy Logic for $200, man. So you now have what everybody else has for $200.
Which means you got to be careful because everybody's using the same tool.
Well, I don't think it's even that. I think you just have to be creative.
You do.
You have to be creative to the point where it's like, no matter what you're putting out there, it has to be on that level of everything else that's out there, but above that even, so people can, so people get it.
Yep.
So it doesn't sound derivative. People don't have room for derivative anymore.
Yeah, but even if something, I agree with you, but like say this chord progression, it's derivative, but truth I think transcends derivative.
Yeah, it's true. And even Adele to some degree is a derivative.
It's paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah.
It's like paper is truth, and it's like if you have truth and you're authentic in what you're saying, but there's something a little bit derivative, as long as you're not ripping it off,
right?
It's viable.
Yeah,
I think truth is sort of what we all want. We want that connection. But
good question, though, dude.
Great question, Keith, and thanks for listening or watching. So the next one we have is, let's see, Corey Clark.
I know him
via Facebook. Corey, my guy.
What's up, dude?
That's my guy. So
I use 10-gauge strings.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to know?
Yep. Question over.
Corey's a great guitar player.
He is a great singer-songwriter, guitar player, multi-guy.
Yeah.
So he has 3 questions.
Okay.
Because he's Corey. First one is, favorite, most memorable gig you've ever played?
Well, that's kind of easy for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I played the Beacon Theater with Joe Walsh. That was pretty awesome.
When was that?
That was recently, and then I also did it a long time ago too, like 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
But the recent one was pretty awesome.
I thought you were going to say the gig where we met. No? Joe Walsh wins?
You might win on that one.
So, for those of you who don't know, Joe Walsh was in the Eagles. Still is in the Eagles, I guess, right?
As far as I know.
Tell him, just a little bit about...
Well, real brief. I've been playing guitar with Joe Walsh for about 7 years now, on and off. Like, whenever he goes on the road, he usually takes me with him. And it's been fun. I mean, I grew up on his music, I was like a big classic rock fan, so... I heard Life's Been Good, Rocky Mountain Way, all those songs as a kid. So it's like playing... It's funny, because like the soundtrack of my growing up, now I'm playing with the person that provided the soundtrack to me growing up.
It's got to be trippy.
It's trippy. And he's a killer guitar player, so it's like, he's all those things. It's a weird gig, actually, now that I think about it. It does a lot of things that I usually don't think about it because I'm on duty.
Yeah.
I got to provide a service and make sure that he's happy.
Right.
But if you take away that aspect of it, I do remember one time I was playing bass with him first. That was awful. He didn't like that at all. But I remember when I played bass with him, I remember being on stage and thinking, oh my God, there's Joe Walsh. I'm playing with Joe Walsh. And I stopped playing bass.
You did?
And Drew goes, dude, keep playing bass. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to keep playing because on bass you can't stop.
He just became an audience member.
I was just like, that's
stage.
Joe Walsh. I'm sitting next to him, you know. And then I'm like, oh crap,
your hands just stopped moving.
I literally stopped playing, and I was in the moment. I was at this club in Texas.
Dude, okay, so what the story about you playing bass and you just decided you were going to play one thing over and over? Was this in rehearsal?
Well, he hates vamps. Like he likes vamps, but he likes them to do something. So it's like we were playing this groove, and those rehearsals are pretty gnarly because he'd caught on real early that I'm a guitar player and playing bass, and he didn't really like that. So. I mean, he was cool, but you could definitely tell he was, you know, a little bugged by the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we were playing this song called Turn to Stone, and there's this section where we play an E minor for a long time. And I kept playing this ostinato part that was just over and over again. And he looks over and he goes, play something different! And I did. And it felt really weird to be yelled at like that.
By a hero.
My hero. And I played something different.
I bet you did.
I don't think he liked it any better, but I think I played something different.
Wow.
But we've come a long way since that little episode.
Yeah. Was there a moment at the Beacon Theater that you that stands out, or just the idea that you did?
Well, I just saw Bob Dylan there, so I was kind of like, and I realized that the history of that place is pretty deep.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of great bands and stuff come through there. So I think, just for me, the historical aspect of it, being in New York, playing with one of my heroes, and then playing at a great venue.
Wow.
I think all that kind of together. I'm trying to think of another gig. There was 2 gigs that I remember. The other one that was really special was when I played with Taylor Hawkins in Europe, and on the side of us was Josh Homme, John Paul Jones, and Dave Grohl, watching our whole show.
Oh wow!
And I thought that was pretty cool. And at the end of the gig, we all got in the van to go back to the dressing rooms, and like John Paul Jones was like, "Great gig, man! It was awesome," you know, like, and he was blown away. And then Josh Homme's like, "Dude, that was incredible," you know. So I was like, "There's a moment of like."
They're both English?
No, did I speak in an English accent with him?
There's a little still there from the John Paul.
No, he's American, but those 2 gigs are the ones that stand out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would say for my gigs, there's a few that have been fluttering through my mind as you're talking, but like, there was a time at, gosh, what year was this? Had to have been like 2004 or 5 or something. And I was singing my song, which I think was a song called Forgiven Now, off my first record, The Noise Inside. And I was playing at Saddleback Church, and it was on, I think, a Sunday night service. And there were probably like, you know, around 1,000 people in there. And I'm in the middle of playing my song, and it's just like, it's a very soft, like, and I'm just solo acoustic guitar. And it was one of my favorite songs to sing at the time, because it was just, you know, all about forgiveness and just like that moment of being in such a huge place. Like the worship center there is just massive.
Yeah, massive. Like 15,000 seat arena.
It's 3,000, but it feels huge.
That was way off in numbers.
You could fit them if you.
But it feels like 15,000.
If you stack them.
Yeah.
But right in the beginning of the song, the entire power went out.
Oh wow.
On the whole building.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, like, 6 o'clock, worship center.
That's crazy.
And I was standing up there like a fool, like, all right. And so I was like, you know what? The show must go on.
Yeah.
I must have thought that. I don't remember thinking that.
Instinctively, you knew that.
So it was sort of this weird feeling, and I just went like, all right. And I just yelled out at everybody, hey, everybody come up, like, get as close as you can. And I sat on the edge of the stage and sang the song for everybody. And it was this really cool, just kind of intimate moment with, like, you know, 1,000 people.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And just, all right, we're going to do this old school, man.
Yeah.
Caveman style.
Yeah, yeah. They probably loved it.
It was really great, man.
Yeah.
It was just like a cool moment, like, of just, I don't know, you could act like it was something that God did, but
maybe so.
Whoever did it, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it was
might have been
special.
Paul behind the breakers. Just went, I hate this guy.
Yeah, maybe I did.
He had it out for you. I'm turning him off.
This song sucks. I know what makes a good song, and that's not it. He didn't keep me down, though.
No, he didn't.
Nope.
You showed him. No, that's pretty awesome, though, on a serious note. All right, so what's Corey's second question?
Corey's second question is what is more inspiring to you, writing, happiness? Oh, to your writing.
That's a weird question.
It is.
Writing and happiness, I don't know.
Like
they kind of go together sometimes, but
Death,
maybe not.
Rabbits, or ice cream? What is more inspiring to your writing? Happiness or depression?
I think depression tends to lead to more fruitful songs, I think, to some degree. Happiness tends to not really bring songs out. You know what I mean? Like, unless your song is really kind of like a dance like song, or like supposed to be kind of funny and quirky, I think that could be cool. But I think anything that has like sort of a melancholy to it seems to bear more songs.
Yeah, my thinking on that is, I think if anybody knows my music, I would probably say depression with some hope that it's not going to last forever, and not just like I'm depressed and I don't know why, but just sort of, you know, some kind of feeling that's stopped me in my tracks that I need to deal with. And I think that's the big difference between those two emotions, whether you call it happiness and sadness or joy and depression, those two kind of polar opposites, is that like happiness, I think it's very self-propelling. Like when you're happy, you're out being happy and doing the things that happiness sort of creates. So like when you're happy inside, I think you tend to celebrate that happiness and live life. And I think it depends on the kind of artist you are, but I think that's why it's very hard to have a happy song that also feels very like, I don't know, like it's got depth or value, you know, for some reason. And I could be wrong, but it just really seems like,
unless the song's called Happy, like Pharrell or something.
Yeah, I mean they're out there, but they're rare and they're special, and they tend to actually be more in R&B, and they tend towards certain styles too, like Stevie Wonder, like Isn't She Lovely?
Right.
And like they tend to be super joyful, like love songs. But I would say that like a lot of the greatest songs in history have a melancholy to them that's sort of like on the way up. You know, it's like this ache. Yeah,
there's like it leads to a hopefulness kind of feeling.
Yeah, so I think songwriters, especially since songwriters are the ones writing songs, I think when a songwriter is happy, he's less likely to write a song than he is to go out and
do something,
do
fun.
A gig, or finally spend some time with his wife, or you know. I think depression, rather than being self-propelling, Propression. It's a good new word.
It's a new medication.
Yeah, Propression. Depression is sort of stops you in your tracks, and it's a very, like, it takes you backwards and makes you stop and consider and reflect because you want to get out of it.
Right.
So I think you want to find a way to like dig yourself out. Hey, Clemmer showed up. Studio dog. That's Clementine. Like, she's happy, and I haven't heard one song that she's written.
No, mostly she just does stuff. She eats sticks.
Yeah. So I guess if I was happier, I'd eat sticks. So yeah, I would say depression fuels it, but I would call it for myself more like, you know, spiritually and psychologically driven melancholy.
Right.
And songs and art help get me out of that.
Yeah.
And I think
there's
nothing
cathartic.
Better. It's cathartic, yeah. And there's nothing better for me than when if somebody hears a song that I've been involved in, and they're not thinking about me, they're thinking about them, and it's sort of like meeting them where they're at. That to me is the best. Like, it's not about me. I've already had my time with that music, and it's helped me. And that's my favorite songs are the ones that I feel like, wow, that was written for me or people like me. Like, I just feel like it's my moment with that art.
Right.
So anyway, moving on to his next question. Thoughts on Scott Weiland?
Sad. Kind of, unfortunately, the way he was living his life kind of led to that. You know?
This is inappropriate.
But I also think that...
she's going crazy.
I think that he was obviously a troubled person, you know? And he didn't have the right people around him. If he had the right kind of help, or maybe he did, and some people are just like Jaco Pastorius, same thing. It's like if you have a condition like that, sometimes you just can't get out of it, you know? Yeah,
man. Being a victim of yourself, like, you you can sit there and say like, hey, stop doing drugs, but addiction's real, and it's, you know, there's a certain amount of choice involved for sure, but to dig yourself out of that, it's just, it's the monkey on your back, you know, and you're always trying to, you know, keep that thing away, and when it comes back, and I don't know if he was in, I don't know much about, you know, his death, and I don't know what's been released in terms of facts about it, so I don't know if he was clean and he took a couple sleeping pills to sleep and his heart gave out, or what the deal is. So forgive my ignorance on it, but I think it's sad that artists in their fragility, you know, get famous, and I think fame does not really help with, you know, having a normal life, and you know, you tend to have yes men around you, and you tend to be able to isolate and continue to do these things, and it's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Cool, I'm doing one of those. Like, who knows if that element played a role in it, in him getting to that point early on in his career where the addiction got his hooks in, because it was sort of just like, yeah, he's doing drugs, whatever, everybody's doing drugs, you know, like in other circumstances maybe his addiction wouldn't have gotten that far. Right. I don't know. You don't know. All I know is that I like a lot of the songs that he's written, and it's sad to see him go. And I don't know if he was beyond help or what, but man, it is just sad. It's sad to see another artist, another one down. And then Corey says, okay, sorry, I'll stop now. Love you guys. Love you.
Love you, dude.
So 2 quick more quick questions. Scott Radmaker. This
Scott.
Came via Facebook. What's up, Scott? It's been forever, actually. Thanks for listening, both of you guys. And his question is, why do musicians tend to forget some of the best tunes they ever wrote? ... Directed at Gannon Arnold equals Heavy Mental.
Heavy Mental? Oh, yeah. I had written a song called Heavy Mental. He liked that one. And I can never remember it. I don't know how to play it. I had no idea. That was like more of the fusion.
I know how to play it.
Days. Heavy Mental, Heavy Mental. That's not it. Should have been it, though. Probably would have been a hit. I think musicians forget their favorite songs just by brain farts. I don't know.
I think that question really is more of just a personal attack than an actual question.
I like it. I'll take it.
So I want to hear that. I never even heard it. So
I'd ask Evan. Maybe Evan knows about it, too.
I'm with you, Scott, and I'm sorry for the rest of you who don't care about this question, who have to suffer through it. But, Scott, if you have a recording of it...
Dude, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Because I totally forgot it.
Send it over. Heavy Mental, though. That's a good title.
Yeah, it was good.
Instrumental song?
Yeah.
Okay. So, our last question... because we're running out of time here, but we're going to get to the rest of the questions. There's like 5 more questions, and they're really good ones. When Mike's back, too, because a couple of them are for Mike.
Okay, good.
We'll get to those questions. So, sorry we didn't get to him this time. This one comes from Trevin Irie.
Ah, Trevin, what's up, dude?
Via
Trevin, too.
The old days,
yeah,
man. So this, I have the worst memory on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure anything has ever happened to me. But... except for those 2 gigs that I remembered. But his question is, do you want to trade double bass drum pedals?
Well,
JK. So I think there might have been a time, I have a vague memory of being...
Do you have one of his double bass pedals?
I don't think I have it. I think I had a memory of going to his house.
Yeah.
And he had, I don't know, just gotten a double bass pedal or had one or something happened. And I kind of felt like, I want that. And maybe he'd want mine, I hope, because I want... his.
something got exchanged, and now he wants it back.
There was something strange that maybe he saw as like a slightly shady request on my part. Like, yeah, you don't need that. Yeah. You don't need those pedals. Those are no good.
Well, Trevin hooked me up with Rush videos. He had all these cool Rush videos from like Canada, and he had taped them all on VHS. So there was it was a bunch of different segments about Rush. And so that's how I know Trevin. And so I had a lot of great Rush videos from him.
Whoa.
So it was cool.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude. So, Trevin, the answer is maybe.
You got to call him.
we're gonna play you out. This is a This is an unplanned. Are we in tune?
Close enough.
No, we're completely out of tune. This is gonna happen.
Here we go.
Choose your adventure. Really? We're doing that?
Bringing it all full circle.
Okay, why don't you... Okay, here's an idea. I'm gonna play that progression.
In a different key?
Give me an A.
Wow, this is taking too long.
We'll cut this. Okay, we're back. We tuned. Took 3 hours. I'm gonna play this here bass. And why don't you take us through playing like diatonically as a soloist, and then take us out of the box.
Oh, you want me solo?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so kind of like if somebody gives you this.
Oh, what was that? Oh, snap.
What's what they call a phone call. Get back to you. Alright, so we'll play that chord progression that you brought up at the beginning of the podcast. Mm-hmm. What did you call it? Don't Stop Believing chords?
Yeah.
Journey. Okay, so just get us out of that box and color this thing.
Okay.
Be you.
Here we go.
I'll play it in the with or without you.
Okay, here we go. Here's the diatonic version of that. That's taking it out. Ooh. Merry Christmas, all you people. Awesome podcast. We had a blast.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll
see you next week.
See you next week. Ho, ho, ho.
More questions. Ho, ho, ho!
Moon killer,